Hello friends and fellow gamers, MKxJUMP here. This week we have a brand new event for Idle Heroes that sees the release of a new dark hero, Patricia. The big thing about this week's event is a lot of people are wondering, is it worth going after the event? Because we have Chinese New Year in a month, so is it worth using your scrolls and gems now? Well, today we're going to answer that question and talk about the different ways I would approach this week's event, whether I was a spender or if I was free to play. Now, before we do that, let me remind you about Patreon. It's a way you can support my channel financially and in return get yourself some rewards through our Discord server. If you want to join that, that's in our description. But a shout out to this week's patrons. We have Unknown, we have Peter, we have Seamus, and we have Gherkin. So thank you guys for your support. That means a lot. And if you want to catch an account review, as that's one of the perks you can enjoy, you can get an account review on Tuesday by joining us through Twitch and Discord. You can find links for both of those in the description. Anyway, if you want to be like them, hit that link in the top corner of the screen, and hopefully I'll see you on a Tuesday too. Anyway, let's go check out this week's event for Idle Heroes. So, this week is a Heroic Summons event. That means we get 3 Heroic Summon Scrolls and 150 gems every day for logging in. So make sure you log in to get those rewards, as they'll be super helpful either this week or perhaps in an upcoming Heroic Summons event. On top of that, you can enjoy the cool events this week, where we have the Palace of Eternity that allows you to swap any of the 5 heroes you see here for the new hero, Patricia. You have to use 10 crystals to do this, and to get those crystals, you get them in the Palace of Crystal if you don't already have them. You get 5 for every 400 Heroic Summon Scrolls you use, and if you buy the value package and get the Palace Key, it will unlock one of these lower levels that gets you an additional 15. So to unlock all 5 levels, you need to buy all 5 packs, either with Story Gems or money. And that might seem a little excessive. Now, when we look at these value packages, you can see we have gems, heroic summon scrolls, and key of mirages, along with treasure coupons as well. A lot of different things to enjoy. What I do think you should know about this is the keys of mirage, you get 40 for 100 bucks, so that will weigh up the value of this week's event. And on top of that, you've also got contract story gems. So bear that in mind before we go ahead and look at whether this week is even worth spending your money. On top of that, we have a hero lottery that gets you 4-star armor for every Patricia copy you get. And as well, we've got summon prizes that are getting you your usual profit orbs and heroic summon scrolls. You get yourself an Asmodel for getting to 200. You get soul symbols and a core of transcendence if you get to 300 scrolls used. And you get a Patricia copy at 400 and relics and a core at 500. You'll also see for completing all of this, you're getting periodically some more of these keys of mirage for a total of 25 for every 500 used. So that means if you do 4 full completes, as that's the max you can do with 2,000 scrolls, you're getting yourself 100 of these keys of mirage. So again, we'll use that number to work out whether this week's event is any good. And finally, for the main stuff, we have a 5-star copy of Vulcan and Mockman available here for 5,000 for the Mockman and 5,500 for the Vulcan available in the Altar Store. So if those copies interest you, you can go ahead and pick those up, just like I did right there. Anyway, let's go take a look at the after image of Butterfly, as that is the special edition for this week's event, which is involving Patricia's Phantasmal Labyrinth. Now, the first thing you can see from this is an 8-stage event, which is getting you all of these rewards here if you max the whole thing, but to max it, you're going to need to spend a heck of a lot of money and contract starry gems. So you might be thinking, is this worth it? Well, it starts off with the Phantasmal Portal, which will appear after 60 explorations. However, when you've done over 30 explorations, there's a 1.5% chance that in each exploration, you might just get the portal anyway. Now, typically then I would just expect to get it in 60. High rolling is a very fortunate thing and typically is unlikely to happen to you. And if it does, it's probably going to happen so deep anyway that you're still going to need an insane number of these keys of mirage anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about high rolling. It's probably not going to do much. And for each stage you do get some additional rewards here from these surprise chests. And as well, you're getting yourself bonus rewards, which is spirit, gold, dust, all sorts of things that you can potentially pick up every time you explore. Now, when you do find the Phantasmal Portal, you will get yourself a reward here. And for the first stage, it's going to be a mysterious artifact. So even for just doing a full 60, which bear in mind, 60 of these things can be achieved by doing well over 1,000 summons, or even spending 150 bucks just to pick up an artifact, kinda sucks. That's really not that great. And if you wanted to go do 2 full completes, that's only going to get you, on top of that, half a Core of Origin shard from one of these Core of Origin chests. So again, that's going to need 120 explorations in total. So to do that, you need to use 2,000 Heroic Summon Scrolls, and that's only going to get you 100, so that's not even enough to do 2 full areas. So already that should jump out to you as really, really bad. And the more you go on this, Yeah, you're getting yourself a chance to get sublimation. And some of you might go, whoa, but should I use my contract story gems to do this? Well, considering that return, it just seems really bad value. Like, yes, I get it, you're getting treasure coupons, which is really, really nice. But realistically, I don't like the value of this event because you have to invest so much just to get these rewards. And I get it, free to play, if you used all your scrolls, spent all your contract story gems, bought absolutely everything, you could do 4 stages, but just take a look at this 4th stage. It is horrendously bad. So if anyone is advising that a free-to-play player could, in any way, do 2,000 scrolls to get yourself 100 of these points, then spend all your contract story gems to get 2 additional floors, then no, don't push yourself all the way up to the 4th floor, because look, spiritual essence, a flag, or an artifact, it's just not worth it. If someone said to you, do you want to spend 3,750 contract story gems to get yourself an artifact, I don't think it's a good idea. And the crazy thing is, if you want to be a spender that gets like spirit vein shards or anything like that, you have to push so deep. Like stage 6 doesn't even offer them. You have to get to stage 7 and 8. So you have to get past all of the other stuff before you get access to destiny materials, which is way worse than previous events we've seen, because previous events allow you to choose destiny stuff or sublimation. Just look at last week's event. All you had to do was buy a $100 pack and you could get 3 lots of spirit vein shards. Look at this then. This event is nothing by comparison and a huge ripoff. Now, there are other ways to get the Keys of Mirage outside of using heroic summon scrolls and spending, but it's only one additional way. It's to complete this chest. What you do is you go ahead and send in these little tokens, which you can buy for 500 gems each, and they will get you a random reward that you see here, and also have a chance of high rolling to get you an artifact and 35 Keys of Mirage. Assuming you don't high roll, this is going to cost you 20,000 gems to do, and that's quite expensive for a single artifact chest. However, the fact that you're picking up 35 Keys of Mirage changes things a little bit, because it means that if you wanted to, you could go ahead and do 500 heroic summon scrolls, and that will get you enough keys to go ahead and do the first stage. You have to ask yourself, is 20,000 gems and 500 heroic summon scrolls really worth getting 1 artifact from here and 1 additional artifact from this stage? If you think that 2 artifacts are worth 20,000 gems and 500 heroic summon scrolls, I would agree with you if it was 2 years ago. Nowadays, artifacts are really, really common and easy to pick up, and I really do believe that a free-to-play player overextending 20,000 gems just for 2 artifacts seems really, really bad. You guys want to be getting sublimation chests for that level of investment. You want to be getting Cause of Origin chests, stuff that can help you progress forwards. Heck, if you're a super deep free-to-play player, you want to be getting access to destiny materials. So this overinvestment of 20,000 gems just to use 500 scrolls on top of that to walk away with 2 artifacts, to me, seems really, really poor. And actually, I wouldn't even bother going after these rewards, because if you look, this whole midsection is just not worth it. You've got Prophet Orbs here with Super Wishing Coins, Glorious Relics, Fine Wood, Hard Rock, Spiritual Essence, stuff you really don't need loads of. And I get it, some free-to-play players might go, ooh, look, Master's Toolboxes, but there's only 7, and there's a 7.2% chance you pick them up, and even the sublimation totals are really, really low. You're not going to feel them. It's not a lot at all. So I would not go wasting your gems chasing after this, and I think there are going to be way better events that give much better rewards for your gems in the future, just like Chinese New Year, which is coming up in a month. So for me, this is a huge skip, unless of course you really need those 35 Keys of Mirage, and there are potentially reasons to do that, which I will mention in a second. On top of that, we have this particular part of the event, which is rewarding players for picking up copies of Patricia or Awakening Patricia copies. This is pure bait. If people are going and awakening Patricias right now, I do not know what they're doing. Like, look at this. Why are there people picking up so many Patricia copies? What the heck are they doing? This event, first of all, the only reason I would use 2,000 scrolls is if I was going hard on this, but why the heck has this guy got 41 points? Why is he awakening Patricias outside of an awakening event? Just so he can get himself a few additional gems. It's ridiculous. If as a collective community we get to 10,000 points, we're all getting 2,000 gems. That level of temptation should not be enough to make people start awakening heroes and wasting contract story gems. I think that's completely wild, and there is absolutely no reason to awaken Patricia just because this event told you to. It's pure bait. Don't fall for it. Don't be a bozo like these guys. Further to that, we have this, the Phantasm Summoning. Now, this is pretty decent. Every single time you do 100 heroic summon scrolls, you're going to get 10 back, which is really nice. But if you go ahead and buy the relay, which we'll take a look at a second, the final area has this, the Phantasm Privilege, which allows you to get this additional side on the right. That's going to get you Cores of Transcendence and either Stellars or Crystals of Transcendence. On top of that, you also get 5-star Patricia copies, so you can work your way down here, get additional Patricias, and also walk away with a ton of cores. Now that might be tempting, but to get there, you have to spend almost 100 bucks on this relay and use 2,000 heroic summon scrolls. Let me remind you, Chinese New Year, which is a huge heroic summons event and typically one of, if not the best event of the year, is in a month's time. So I would rather save my heroic summon scrolls for that. On top of that, we know 100% that that's going to be a Transcendence event because they've just released a brand new hero this week, which means in a month, this brand new hero, Patricia, is going to be Transcended. And Transcendence events are always the best heroic summon events. Just go take a look at some of the biggest events of the year, and you will see they were all Transcendence events or events not related to heroic summons entirely. So you'll probably want to go check them out if you're curious what those events entail. Now, I would strongly encourage you, if you are thinking about doing this, that you need to make sure you have a contingency plan to have 2,000 heroic summon scrolls at Chinese New Year. Maybe you're prepared to spend hundreds and hundreds then sure, fine. Go ahead and do that if you really, really want to. But my advice to anybody is save your scrolls. It's just not worth it. And this side temptation is just another piece of bait to make people waste their resources when we're so close to one of the best events of the year. On top of that, take a look at this. This is a Phantasm gift, which is basically Moonlight gift, and this is giving you 1 artifact for spending 100 bucks. That's ridiculously bad value. You're getting 100 scrolls in there too. This is ridiculous. And if you spend 200 bucks, you get a Sublimation Chest, Core of Origin, or Spiritual Essence. For 200 bucks. This is wildly poor value. I do not understand this Moonlight gift. They've done this in the past. I'm surprised they've brought it back. It's just so mid. And then we've got a relay, which is pretty decent. This is giving Prism Story Gems, it's giving Heroic Summon Scrolls, and there's a chance to get these Keys of Mirage. But if you look through this, the value of Prism Story Gems is really weighted to these cheaper areas, and you're getting quite a ton of them here. And you're also getting gems thrown in there too, Cores of Transcendence, some more of these Keys of Mirage. And it actually works out insanely better value to just forget that these last 2 areas exist, because the majority of the value of this comes early on, and these last 2, compared to that value, is insanely expensive. If you look, that's 20 bucks to get yourself 400 Prism Story Gems, but if you look at this 10 bucks here, that gets you 200, and an additional 200 here. If you look at this $1 one, that's getting you 200 as well. How can you compare that? That's 11 bucks for 600 Prism Story Gems, and then this one here is 400 Prism Story Gems for 20. And you might say, yeah, but this has relics and stellar shards. Why would I not go for this? It's just not as good value. And this next one, it doesn't even have like a skin or anything to make it incentivizing. It's just giving you 22 of these Keys of Mirage, and 22 isn't even enough to scratch the surface, as you need 60 to do a full area in this event. I get that it's got 1,000 Prism Story Gems, but that's not even worth 50 bucks. So I find the value really, really good if you're going to buy all the way up until this free area here, Calm. And that's only going to cost you 27 bucks, and you're walking away with a chunk of Prism Story Gems. You're getting 200, that's 400, 600, that's 800, 1,000, dang. And then, 1,300 Prism Story Gems for 27 bucks. That's ridiculous, and it just makes the additional spend here really seem not worth it. So the first thing I would do if I was approaching this as a budget player or even a spender, honestly, I just get 27 bucks on this all the way up to Calm, and that's going to get you 12 of these Key of Mirages as well. You can then take that 12 of these Keys of Mirage, add it to the 35 here, and that takes you to 47, which then means you can get an additional 14 of those keys by using 300 scrolls, and you'll get yourself the first stage cleared, and you'll get an artifact out of that. That seems way better value. That's 2 artifacts for 27 bucks, and 20,000 gems. To me, that sounds like the best way to approach this event if you need artifacts. And honestly, it's kind of tempting anyway, because if you spend 27 bucks, you're getting a lot of Prism Story Gems, you're getting a lot of rewards like Heroic Summon Scrolls, and if you spend 300 scrolls, that is the sweet spot in the summon prizes to get you 5 soul symbols. So that for me is the cleanest and most effective way to approach this event, without spending a ton of money, and arguably the best value way to approach this event if you can afford to spend those 20,000 gems. I think pushing up to $100 seems absolutely ridiculous, and I think even the heaviest of spenders are going to be turned off by the fact that this event's value is so out of whack. The fact that you need to spend $150 for each of these stages. If someone just turned around to me and said, yo, do you want to spend $150 on a sublimation chest? I'd say no. A stage requires 60. Let me remind you, value packs 40 is only 100. I do not understand this value. This event is absolutely insane. It doesn't give any festival treasures. There's nothing like that to push us ahead. It's basically a worse version of the last anniversary event we had, and people moaned that was bad, so this is just way worse. So what we have this week, in my opinion, is an event that is a lot of stuff that's just not worth doing. And if you're a free-to-play player, I'd argue you just entirely skip this and don't waste your gems, unless of course you have an astronomical amount of gems, in which case I can understand you using 20,000 to pick up an artifact chest, and then maybe 500 scrolls if you want to get another artifact, but you really have to assess whether that's good value for you, and I think for the majority of players, it just isn't. Save your gems, save your scrolls, there are much better events coming up in the future. Now, next week's event, we only have a Sky Labyrinth event that's got a Mysterious Chest event and a Wishing Coin event that's giving ticks. Now, this could be really good. They could add to this a gala, but they probably won't, as we had one last week. They could add to us maybe like some fancy Moonlight gift or something just to push us ahead, to give us an incentive to spend. There's loads of things they could add. Heck, it could even be a Viking Saga, but they would probably have leaked that beforehand if it was going to be the case. So we'll just have to wait and see what they decide to do for Sky Labyrinth, but I'm not expecting it to be an amazing event. But if you're curious, do hit that subscribe button, as we will be reviewing that event in the future. As well, you're probably wondering, is the new hero any good? Well, Patricia really seems like a really unexciting hero. Her active skill allows her to damage random enemies, which is not very helpful. It's a single target twice, so it could be anyone. It just really doesn't have that much consistency to it, and deals extra damage equal to a percentage of their max HP. That's not very helpful. It does allow her to get an extra 25% dodge, but compare that to Drake, who gives himself 70% dodge just for moving. It's way better than 25% dodge for doing an active, so she's just worse than Drake when it comes to dodge. She does have abilities, though, that allow her to reduce a target's crit damage by 50%, which might be nice, but has better debuffs in the game. And she's got a skill effect which gives her self-control immunity, which then can be triggered, which allows her to attack again. But I don't think that's going to be that great. She might be a really good single target damage dealer, but I don't think there's really heroes we need to have on our account and force out to do that with. And if we do, they're Transcendence heroes. So I highly do not expect her to be usable, because she's not transcended and she's dark, which means she's really hard to pick up. She's not even a tenant for any Transcendence heroes whatsoever at the moment, so she's not even worth using as a tenant, which is really unfortunate. I think the best hero she's a tenant for is normal Betty and normal Natalia, which is just unhelpful because you're not making any of them a homeowner. So yeah, she seems like a really disappointing hero in that sense. The funny thing is, her passives seem really weird as well. This active that allows her to put the After Mirage wings on that reduce an enemy's crit damage get removed by her passive, which is really irritating if it triggers twice. She will do damage to random enemies when that happens, which is kind of cool, and she will heal herself, but you remove the debuff that makes her seem pretty good. So that's quite a confusing ability as well, as it seems quite counter-synergistic. I get that it enables her abilities and allows her to attack, and she reduces the enemy's attack, but she seems very much like a PvE hero that we really don't need. And when it comes to these kind of heroes, we're looking for supports, people that disrupt the opponent or crowd control the opponent, or just bring something that allows them to shine, even with Transcendence heroes on the team. And Patricia sadly doesn't bring that to the table. So what is good this week? Well, I suppose if you are going to go after this, you can pick up those cores and stellar shards, but that does require an overinvestment in scrolls, and I personally wouldn't go ahead and do that. And for that reason, I don't think it's worth even going all the way in the relay. So like I said, $27, get yourself the early stages of the relay, maybe use a few scrolls to push that ahead, maybe spend some gems to get a couple artifacts, and that's it. Honestly, was not expecting this event to be as disappointing as it was, and it seems if you are going after it, just like a hugely expensive event, and there are way better events that you can get way better value on for spending a similar amount of cash. And if you look at last week's event, it was $100 for way more stuff. So in my opinion, a big trap, absolute bait, and not worth going for this close to Chinese New Year. If you want to see what Chinese New Year is like, I will absolutely review that, so hit the subscribe button for a similar review on a Friday, as I do every single week, and that will be in the middle of February, and it should be pretty fun. So I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully you guys can enjoy this week for what it is, and maybe let me know in the comment section if you guys are going to do anything different to what I recommended this week. Or maybe you will do my advice, in which case let me know too. Either way, have an amazing week. I'll see you next time, and of course, happy idling.